Hello and welcome back to tutorial 118, and this tutorial is going to be creating a method that returns two values. We've already had scenario 1 and scenario 2. Scenario 1 was void, had a void method, and scenario 2 returned a double value. This one is going to be returning two double values. So how do we do that? Well, let's look at the program, which I've uncommented. And we'll see how relatively straightforward that is to do. Okay, so we've got the method as before. Looks pretty simple, similar. The first return value is indicated here that we're saying a double, but then what we have the parameters, parameter 1, 2, 3 and 4 as we had before. But what we also have is something that looks a little like a parameter, but this is actually a returned value because we use the word out. So apart from that, things appear pretty similar as the last scenario. We do the calculations, and we also return a value which happens to be the slope, but also within the calculation we've calculated the intercept, and that intercept is going to be another output value because we're using that same word here in the parameter line. So let's have a look at how we call that. Again, we have to assign it to a value as we did in scenario 2, and that value 2 becomes the value of slope because that is the double value that's returned. But how do we get the intercept value? Well, it's quite simple really. We just use the word inter, and inter, as I mentioned previously, is a variable that I created that is a variable that covers the whole of the program. It's not just local to the method, and the reason that that picks up the value of the intercept is because inter is used here when we call the method. So that value actually gets returned a value, and then we can use that value here in the print statement. And if we go to the chart, you'll see here, for example, this is an IBM chart. We've got the slope value, pretty much like we had in scenario 2. But what you'll see here is that we've also got an intercept value at 166.8220. And I think if we look at the chart, we'll see that that's pretty much where the intercept at the first, or rather the 0 bar, occurs. So I've made that a little bit confusing because I've used the a string intercept to label that value, and in actual fact in the program we're using a variable, and I keep trying to say global variable. That has a slightly different meaning in TradeStation, but a variable that applies to the whole program. It's not just local to the method. We're using that value to get the value by using it when we call the method. Now it's also possible to have more than two output values, and if you wish to have more, then you would just simply create another out variable, or out, as it were, input output parameter, and we would just put that there. And anyway, I hope you found that useful.